Miss Martin? Miss Martin?
Yes, Mr. Randall?
Send Steve Harrison here. I want to see him right away.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir?
Harris, let's get to the bottom of this thing.
Yes, sir. Get to the bottom of what, sir?
You know, this school business. Sit down. Here it is. Every time I look at the paper, money for this and money for that.
Yeah, but Mr. Randall...
Don't but me. You're a university man. I want to know what's going on at those state schools.
What do you mean?
I mean all this money they're throwing around. It seems to me that taxes are high enough without the state schools always clamoring for more funds.
Is that all?
All? Look at this paper. They're spending more money all the time. It's worse this year than ever. I'm a taxpayer. I want to know what they're doing with all that money. My money.
I expect you want to talk to me because I went to KU. Well, I could talk to you all day.
Go ahead and talk.
I'll talk. You're paying me for it. But I think there's a better way.
What's that?
If you're really interested, you ought to have a look at what's going on. Why don't you go up to Lawrence and see for yourself?
I don't know anybody in Lawrence.
You know me. I'll go with you.
You will, eh? I suppose that's one way to get a day off.
Well, I didn't mean to say that I...
How about next week? You think you can get away? Here, why don't you drive?
Sure. Okay, Kansas City, first stop.
Kansas City? I thought we were going to KU.
We are. We're going to the KU Medical Center. It's in Kansas City.
Oh. Quite a layout.
Yes, in the University of Kansas Medical Center, Ed Randall found people at work in the serious business of preparing themselves to be doctors, nurses, technicians. He found young people learning to heal the sick, learning to care for the ills of mankind, preparing themselves for the life of service ahead. Here, students use the most modern equipment, utilizing the latest techniques of television and medical teaching. Ed Randall found research men ever seeking to understand the complex functionings of the human body, probing the depths of life with new instruments of science. Some research is almost unbelievable, as this, where delicate catheters are inserted painlessly through an arm vein, enabling medical scientists to investigate the processes inside a living heart. Clinical research with animals helps light the way to new discovery. Discovery that may one day rid Kansas children of the scourge of polio. In the hearing and speech department, remarkable projects are in progress in teaching deaf children to speak and to read, opening new windows in their worlds of silence. But equally as important is the following through with parents, better enabling them to guide the lives of their handicapped children. And when the young doctors complete their specialized training, their days of learning are not over. Small clinics being established all through the state, many through the Kansas plan, will be waiting for some. And for all will be available the seminars at the medical center or extension classes in their own communities. Here the young doctor and the doctor who has practiced for years will continue to learn in classes where the outstanding medical and technical men of our time impart to Kansas doctors the newest medical techniques in surgery, in therapy, in internal medicine.
You begin to see what your money's doing?
Well, yes. Pretty impressive, all right.
I think so. Now we go to Lawrence.
On the Lawrence campus, Ed Randall and Steve found the beauty and the dignity for which the campus has always been known. And in the museums on the campus, thousands of visitors each year share the fascination of the wonders of nature. Visitors enjoy the beauty of man's handicraft, of paintings, of ceramics, and marvel at the intricate work of the sculptor. Ed and Steve found beauty in the work of the Geological Survey, in the serious business of the university which they had come to see, the testing of clay samples for the ceramics industry of the state. For Kansas Oil Research, the survey has cataloged thousands of sample well cuttings in its libraries, both in Lawrence and at Wichita. True libraries in the sense that samples are actually checked out to oil companies and to individuals. To scientists who read from these bits of earth the fabulous story of oil, and in the reading open new avenues of prosperity for Kansas. Yet valuable as it is, oil is not our most precious mineral resource. Water, underground water, is the lifeblood of large areas in the state, having no other source of supply. Hundreds of our cities use water from wells. Kansas industries pump 100 million gallons of water a day. And farmlands irrigated by groundwater are of increasing importance in the state's economy. Periodic measurements of water levels are an essential part of the groundwater program, for measurements in hundreds of wells over the state indicate danger spots well in advance of critical conditions. Surface water, too, undergoes analysis in KU laboratories. Surface water, vital to the cattle rancher whose cattle are watered in a stream. Vital to the city that receives its water supply from or disposes of its sewage into a river. And vital to the citizen who simply likes to spend a quiet afternoon fishing. The careful work of the University Water and Sewage Laboratories, operated by the university for the State Board of Health, affects the lives of all these people. For here, water samples from all over the state are tested for purity. Here are submitted for approval all plans for water systems and sewage disposal projects. And here investigation is made into methods of disposing of oil well brines and other industrial wastes that affect the purity of Kansas streams.
Well, as I said before, I decided to come down to see what was going on myself.
Well, we're always glad to have visitors, Mr. Randall, particularly visitors with questions. You know, you'd be surprised at the number of people that have the same idea that you do, that here are the ivory towers of learning and the sole function of the university is to educate your sons and daughters. You know, actually, much of the work of the university is done in behalf of the people of the state. We're constantly at work on problems of mineral resources, business, and industry. Now, when you've looked around a little more and have an idea of the amount of research and service activities that are carried on here, I'm sure that you will feel as we do, that the work of the university beyond the ivory towers affects the lives of nearly everyone in the state of Kansas.
You know, I've been thinking. These fellows are working on stuff that affects me and my business.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yes, Ed, the university is working on things that affect even you. In the Bureau of Business Research are men working closely with businesses that may be considering locations in your town. New industries have been attracted to the state, helped by labor surveys of the Bureau analyzing Kansas labor potentials. Bureau fieldmen may canvass an entire trade area seeking the sources of a community's income. An accurate appraisal of merchandising practices with expansion of retail sales has often been the outcome of such surveys. and a monthly bulletin tailored to Kansas conditions helps thousands of businessmen keep a finger on the pulse of Kansas business.
Great Scott, what's that?
No, Ed, it isn't a man from Mars. He is one of the key links in Kansas civilian defense, a member of the radiological monitoring team, trained and outfitted for atomic detection. In the event of disaster, he and his teammates would be airborne to the scene, the first to enter the blast area. Their sensitive instruments would chart the path of safety for the firefighters, rescue workers, and refugees. But destruction is not confined to possible warfare. Every spring, this efficient organism of destruction wages all-out attack on Kansas elm trees. And just as the university physics staff is best fitted to deal with radioactivity, so entomology staff members are state authorities on insect pest control. It is the responsibility of the state entomologist, a member of the KU staff, to inspect all commercial nurseries in the southern part of the state, so that when you buy landscaping shrubs in Kansas, you can be sure that you are paying for live, healthy plants. Entomology field agents are available for voluntary orchard inspections and are actively urging extermination of that species of barberry which serves as alternate host for wheat rust. Wheat, the sea of gold that symbolizes Kansas to the world. From wheat's grain, food for the nation. From wheat straw, through a project of the University Research Foundation, inexpensive pulp to replace wood in paper production.
Say, who gets all the mail around here?
Come on, let's go see.
No wonder you're surprised, Ed, at the volume of mail pouring into the campus. Because the people of Kansas have confidence in their university. Because they know it serves them, they send a tide of inquiries.
How can I make my farm a refuge for quail and prairie chicken?
An answer to that letter will be found by a member of the State Biological Survey, who in the course of his duties exploring the biological resources of the state aids both the farmer and the sportsman. Through his efforts, new ways are found to protect and increase the wildlife of the state.
The Fort Scott School Board wants a survey of its school system.
This letter means another important job for the Bureau of Educational Research, for here are men who are professional consultants to those interested in school problems. Their survey may be so comprehensive as to include testing of every child in an entire school system to determine the efficiency of its educational methods. Or they may be called upon for a detailed curriculum study in Atchison, in McPherson, in Salina, wherever school boards seek improvement in organization or in integrating the broad social units into basic reading, writing, and arithmetic. But whether the school board's problem is the selection of a building site or an investigation into the reasons why children drop out of school, Kansas school boards know that the administrative consultants at the university are helping to bring better education to Kansas and to the children of Kansas. Of course, you know this fellow, Ed. He's part of your government, one of your peace officers. You hired him for your own protection, but hiring him did not guarantee that he knew how to protect you well. Perhaps he learned how, or had his knowledge refreshed, in a peace officers training program sponsored by the KU Bureau of Government Research and the Extension Service, with the full cooperation of the FBI and the Kansas Bureau of Investigation. City managers, city clerks, and county clerks may likewise have had the advantage of this in-service training for public servants. When Ed Randall visited the university, he saw some of the students who make up the residence body of the school. The students Ed could not see were those who take advantage of KU's correspondence study courses, the farm youth of Cowley County, the bedridden student in Abilene, the draftsman in Colby, or the postman in Ottawa. Only a few of the thousands augmenting or renewing their educations in one of the top 10 university correspondence study institutions in the nation. Contrasted to the more than 7,500 students who receive instruction on the campus proper are the 10 to 12,000 people who attend university extension classes off campus. Classes held in metropolitan hotels, in county courthouses, and in church basements across the state. Extension classes come to the people. Here people from all walks of life are learning. Learning about retail selling. Learning to become secretaries, truck fleet managers, foreign trade experts. Learning of their responsibilities as citizens of a world in crisis. Any organized fire department can take advantage of firemanship courses offered by extension experts. Using the equipment they have at hand, these men learn the best methods of fighting different types of blazes. Their skill in an emergency becomes a tribute to the university's interest in protecting the community. The radio voice of the university is a classroom on the air. Art, music, literature, health, and safety education reach an estimated 25,000 children a week, many of them rural school students. With the thousands of educational films available from the Bureau of Visual Instruction Library, Kansas children learn both by eye and by ear. Their teachers learn from visual instruction demonstrations how to make best use of such modern teaching aids as the motion picture and the film strip.
Say, remember last fall when your wife had to make that talk? Eh? The one to her club about atomic energy. Remember the trouble you had helping her to collect the material?
Oh, yes, and as I remember, you came up with something.
Yeah, well, this is where I got it.
The University Extension Library sends out information tailored to special requirements on almost every topic. Packaged by subjects, the libraries go out to hundreds of communities each year. Backing up the Extension Library's files of subject matter are all the volumes in the campus library, one of the most complete in the Middle West. Kansas boys and girls are encouraged by the children's reading program to read for the pleasure of reading. An education may be further brought to life, spiced with entertaining lectures made available by the university. It can be brought alive in a full-dress presentation of Shakespeare.
Help Cavalier Peas Blossom to scratch. I must to the barber's. Methinks I am marvelous hairy about the face, and I am such a tender ass. If my hair do but tickle me, I must scratch.
So doth the woodbine the sweet honeysuckle gently entwist. The female ivy so and rings the barky fingers of the elm. Oh, how I love thee! How I dote on thee.
And when the lights go up, the show goes on. Tonight or tomorrow, some other community in Kansas will enjoy top-flight educational entertainment brought to it by the University Bureau of Lectures and Concerts. When the sunlight fades across the campus, man-made lights begin to glow. 1,000 hands reach automatically for electric switches that light the rooms. Rooms where students study, students work, and where students relax. And few stop to think What if the electric current were not there when it was needed? But the power companies have thought about it, and so have the men of the University Research Foundation. For research men at the university have built this giant electric brain, which power companies use to compute the complex equations necessary to ensure dependable electric service. Yet back of all the vital workings of research, back of all the services to the state, is the university's dedication to the student. To the Tom Browns, the Mary Smiths and Jane Johnsons, to the Bob Elliots, who will be tomorrow's teachers, lawyers, and journalists, to the young men and women who will till the Kansas soil and become Kansas homemakers. And you, Ed Randall, can broaden the scope of the university, as many men and women such as Solon E. Summerfield and Mrs. Elizabeth Watkins have done. Whether you share a small sum or a fortune, the Endowment Association will serve as your trustee to set up scholarships for students, grants for industrial, social, or medical research, or perhaps construction funds for the buildings that round out and enrich your university. And now, Ed Randall, you begin to see the value of the university to you and your state.
Here, Steve, have one of my cigars.
Gee, thanks. Don't mind if I do. Ed?
Now, Ed Randall, you are one of the group of Kansas people who look to their university, who look to the men and women staffing the laboratories, to the faithful workers carrying on the often tedious projects of research. But over and above these concrete evidences of service, you look to the university for a special feeling of pride. Pride in the beauty of the campus, as the green of summer carpets the slopes of Mount Oriat. Summer gives way to a blaze of autumn color as Jack Frost spreads his brilliant mantle across the foliage. But even as the seasons change, this timeless purpose remains: a university serving its people. All this, then, is ours, our team, our stadium, our victory. This is our famous man, our man of science and letters. Yes, here is our university, symbol of all the best things of our state. And thus did Ed Randall learn of his university, of its people, and of its work. And eternally, from the university towers ring the notes of truth, but further, beyond the towers, service, the ultimate goal of education, spreads to the widest reaches of the state. Service to the cities, the towns, the villages, and the farms. Service to all the people who are the state of Kansas.